Good morning. I'm Michael Kovnat, and this is the Next Big Idea Daily, your shortcut to the smartest new nonfiction, one big idea at a time. Make sure you're following the show on your favorite platform, and if you like it, please leave us a rating and review. Now, manipulation is everywhere, in ads, algorithms, politics, even workplace incentives. In his new book, Manipulation, Harvard Law professor Cass Sunstein, one of the most cited legal scholars in the world, shows how subtle design choices and social pressures can hijack your autonomy, and he gives you practical steps to stop and resist manipulation in your feeds, at the store, and on the job. Cass joins us with key insights from his book right after this quick break.
At Thales, we know cybersecurity can be tough and you can't protect everything, but with Thales, you can secure what matters most. With Thales industry-leading platforms, you can protect critical applications, data, and identities, anywhere and at scale with the highest ROI. That's why the most trusted brands and largest banks, retailers, and healthcare companies in the world rely on Thales to protect what matters most: applications, data, and identities. That's Thales, Thales. Learn more at thalesgroup.com/cyber.
Shaq here, spinning fast-acting pain relief with Icy Hot. Ice works fast, heat makes it last. Icy Hot, you're so back.
Hello, my name is Cass Sunstein. I am the author of the new book, Manipulation, and the first idea in the book is what manipulation is. It's actually a hard concept to define. My preferred definition focuses on trickery that prevents people from exercising their capacity for reflection and deliberation. So think of manipulation as a kind of covert influence where your emotions get going such that you can't make a reflective choice about whether to get a baldness cure or whether to get a medicine for, let's say, a foot that hurts, or when there's some hidden terms such that you aren't able to reflect on whether something that you are considering whether to buy is actually a good purchase. So think of manipulation as something that compromises people's capacity for agency because it makes them unable to be reflective and deliberative choosers. A big idea in the book on manipulation has to do with a form of manipulation that is called sludge. Sludge consists of barriers and burdens that make it really hard for you to get done what you want to get done. It might be that canceling a subscription involves a lot of sludge. It might mean that exiting from certain terms involves a lot of administrative burden. It might be that getting access to some good that's really important for you or to some arrangement with someone that could make your life much better is full of administrative burden and sludge. Sludge is often a form of manipulation. People are told, here you go, you get access to a service and it's going to be great. And you can get into the service like that, but getting out of the service when you no longer have a need for it, or when you discover it's actually a pretty unfortunate arrangement you've entered into, involves making 10 telephone calls, maybe going to some very cold and remote place to have an in-person interview, maybe giving people access to information about yourself that you'd prefer to remain private. That easy in and hard out is a form of manipulation, and it's sludge. It might be that to engage in some improvement in your arrangement with someone with whom you're in a contract, it might be the government, it might be some arrangement with the government, it might be a company that's not treating you well, it might be you have to call them up and you have to wait an hour or two or three, maybe that you're not talking to a person. The fact that that isn't told to you up front, so you think it's going to be a lot easier it is a form of manipulation. Sludge, the imposition of barriers that make it hard for people to get where they want to go, that is a curse, and it is manipulation on steroids, and there ought to be a law against it. There ought to be a right not to be manipulated. So people have a right not to be defrauded, They often have a right not to be deceived. People have a right not to be libeled, but there's no right not to be manipulated. I suggest we need such a right. And the reason we do is that companies often are taking our time and our money through manipulation, not through lying, through tricking us. And that form of interference with our freedom and our well-being often is very costly. It's particularly pervasive in the modern era. We ought to have regulators challenging manipulative practices, and we ought to have specification of the worst forms of manipulation such that we can have regulatory barriers to it. I suggest the worst forms of manipulation involve a lack of consent, when people are tricked and provoked into an interaction that involves a lack of money because the interaction occurred. And that is something that is harmful to people. If people's money or time is taken without their consent through manipulative practices, then we have a strong argument for the claim that the right not to be manipulated has been violated. That right should exist. It's time. An idea in the book that is a little bit on the frontiers of, let's say, law and policy, and maybe psychology too, has to do with what I call Barbies. Now, if you like Barbies, please forgive me and bear with me for a moment. I'm going to use Barbies as an example of a product that some people, at least some people, buy but wish did not exist. So that's true for some people who end up buying Barbies, who wish they didn't exist, but buy them anyway. Why do they buy them? Goods that we buy that we wish didn't exist, we buy because of social pressures and social norms. So in some communities, not buying cigarettes is kind of bad because you're supposed to be a smoker. In some communities, not drinking a lot of liquor is bad because you're supposed to be drinking a lot of liquor. And in some communities, not having a Barbie is bad. My hypothesis is that there are a bunch of goods out there, social media is one, that people buy, money or time, or some kind of resource. But if they could abolish the thing, they'd be really happy it didn't exist anymore. Now, this hypothesis turns out to be vindicated by data suggesting a number of young people would pay real money to be able to use Instagram and TikTok. They would. They want to be on those platforms, and they'll pay for them. But they also, if they could abolish the platforms, they'd be happy, and they'd actually pay to abolish the platforms. So this is data suggesting that Instagram and TikTok are, for many people, goods that people buy but which did not exist. I suggest that many companies manipulate people by using social norms and social pressures to get people to buy things whose existence the very people who buy them don't like or deplore. And that phenomenon of the Barbie problem, let's call it, getting people to buy products whose existence the very people who buy the products regret, that is a serious problem. It's a form of manipulation, and we need to take steps to reduce the problem. There are many goods out there that people buy but wish did not exist. These are goods that people buy with their time or their money, but their existence is not something that people celebrate. I'll give you a couple of examples. It might be that there's liquor in a community that people buy so long as it's around, but they would be a little happier if there weren't any liquor at the party or in the community. Cigarettes may be something that people buy because there's a social norm. In some communities, you smoke. That's what you do. But if people are asked, if you could abolish cigarettes, would you do that? They would say, absolutely. I'd be completely happy if there weren't cigarettes in my community. This speculation that there are goods out there that people buy but wish did not exist is actually supported by data involving social media, where young people who use TikTok and Instagram say, we'll pay to use Instagram and TikTok. They're kind of important. But then asked, would you abolish TikTok and Instagram? They say, a lot of them, yes, I'd completely abolish them. In fact, I'd pay for them not to exist anymore. That's a case where people would buy a good social media platform access, where the social media platform is something whose existence they don't celebrate. My claim is there are a lot of goods out there that people are manipulated into buying with time or money, but they wish did not exist. And the way it happens is once the good exists, it might be a social media platform, it might be liquor, it might be an unlawful drug, it might be cigarettes. If you say, no, I don't want that, you kind of give a signal about yourself that isn't helpful to you and your community. I spent a lot of time in Ireland, and if I turn down a drink in Ireland, I give a signal that either I'm an alcoholic, which I'm not, I'm pleased to say, or that I don't like fun, and I do like fun, I'm pleased to say. The signal given by declining alcohol is unwelcome, and so I drink. Now, that's just a personal story, and it's not a matter of great import, but the fact is there are goods out there. Social media platforms are important examples that people use, but they wish they didn't exist.
Thank you, Cass. Okay, everyone, you can get a copy of Manipulation using the link in the episode notes. That's our show for the day. If you got something out of it, please leave us a rating or review in your podcast player so others can find it too. And go to nextbigideaclub.com to find out about our hardback subscription club, where we send you the best new nonfiction books as chosen by our curators, Malcolm Gladwell, Susan Cain, Adam Grant, and Daniel Pink. We send them right to your door, and you can get 20% off if you use the code DAILY. That's nextbigideaclub.com and use the code DAILY at checkout. I'm Michael Kovnat. See you tomorrow.